Carolina, welcome to Young and Profiting Podcast.
Thank you so much, Hala. I'm so excited to be here today.
Likewise. So yeah, fam, today we have Carolina Reis on the show. Carolina is a scientist as well as the co-founder and CEO of OneSkin, a biotechnology company working to fight humanity's oldest problem, which is aging. Fueled by their passion for science and love of life, Carolina and her 3 other women Ph.D. scientists joined forces to create the pioneering skincare company OneSkin to forever transform the way humans experience aging. In this episode, we're going to learn about Carolina's mission in founding the company OneSkin and how our skin can impact our overall health. We'll also discuss how to reduce biological aging, why we need healthy skin habits to find success, and we'll learn about Carolina's go-to skincare routine. Carolina, you grew up in a small town on the countryside of Brazil, and I read that since you were young, you've always been interested in the code of life, which is how our cells and tissues are part of a beautifully orchestrated system that creates an organism. So why did the code of life intrigue you so much?
Yeah, I think when I realized that everything in our bodies are basically a result of how our genes are controlled. And then if we can understand how that code works, we can basically manipulate that code to allow our tissues, our cells, and our bodies to basically work better and, allow us to have like a better life. So it's so interesting how, every single disease or disorder, it's basically a result of the genes that are being activated or suppressed. And if you understand that, you can manipulate in a way that you can make like amazing things. You can reverse back the age of the tissue, you can delete a gene, you can basically create so many interventions that can cure diseases. So to me, this was so fascinating. And I was so interested in using this to help people, to live a better life.
I love that. And yeah, fam, we always have entrepreneurs on the show, but one of my favorite types of conversations is to actually speak with scientists and researchers like Carolina. It is so much fun to learn about our body, our health, and really get the nuances of all of that. So let's talk about your journey into the field of science, how you ended up in Silicon Valley, and how you ended up creating OneSkin. Tell us that journey.
Yeah. So I was always passionate about the applied science, science that I could see a translation in the end. So on my PhD, I studied stem cell biology and tissue engineering. So basically what I was doing, I was recreating human tissues in the lab and simulating a disease and then coming up with different ways to treat that disease. And then I thought that we could start using those models, those tissues, and test new drugs, new products that are out there in the market in order to replace animal testing. So that's how we started back in Brazil in 2014. I joined with 3 other colleagues from my lab. And basically, we were growing different types of human tissues, like a small heart, mini brains, mini retinas,
Wow.
and then we eventually got into skin because there was a huge, market opportunity in terms of companies needed alternatives methods to develop and test their products and not use animals. And then we decided to specialize in growing human skins in the lab. Eventually, this first, I would say, endeavor didn't work out in Brazil, but it got us the opportunity to come to the US. So in 2016, I came to Silicon Valley to join a biotech accelerator called IndieBio. So what IndieBio does, basically they help scientists like myself and my co-founders to become entrepreneurs and really to build scalable and sustainable companies. And here at IndieBio, we basically decided to start over with a new approach of initially growing human skins to test the products that were in the market to validate if they actually work.
Mm.
So one of the areas that we were most interested in, and we see that it's a huge market, is like anti-aging. We know that there is so much out there, but unfortunately there is a lot of, pseudoscience, a lot of hype, and we thought that we could come up with a way to validate the efficacy of those products. So our approach was, if we can grow those skins in the lab, if we can measure the age of that tissue, then we can test a given product or an ingredient, and then we can quantify if that tissue is actually promoting any age reversal effect. And it turns out that we can quantify this by reading the DNA of the skin. So that there is this new concept that we're going to talk more about, biological age, and how our DNA accumulates change over time that are associated with aging. And then we can measure that as a way to first determine what is the biological age, and then second, how a given intervention can change that biological age. So that's the beginning, and then eventually we pivoted a few times until we got to what we are doing today. But maybe I can stop there, and we can go from there.
Yeah, this is so fascinating. So you guys would test existing products on your skin that you
Yeah,
manufactured essentially, and you would
yeah.
see if it would actually work. And then you decided to start a skincare company. So I'm wondering, did you find that these products weren't really addressing the problems?
Yeah, yeah, it was exactly that. So what we found is that most products out there, first of all, they were not developed to target aging itself. So the majority of anti-aging products, they are either just like a moisturizer trying to improve, the appearance of your skin, or they are like acids or retinols that are inducing like a peeling effect. So you're, inducing your skin to grow a newer skin, not necessarily a younger skin. So what we saw that there was first no rationale behind the, targeting aging on those products. And second, we also realized that a lot of those products, they were not doing anything, or they were accelerating aging. So essentially, if a product is bad, it can, cause more harm than good. And then on the flip side, what we saw, because we were like following this science of longevity and aging research, and we now have a much better understand what's actually driving aging at the cellular level. And there were several companies in the longevity field starting out with this approach of targeting aging as their main like value proposition in order to treat or prevent age-related disease. So
Mm.
several companies were more focused on different types of diseases like Alzheimer's, osteoarthritis, and cardiovascular disease, and basically realized that we could use a very similar approach to target skin aging and bring this new innovation to consumers faster.
I honestly like this is so cool and I love it. I am a huge skincare fan. I'm all about anti-aging. I have a brand called Young and Profiting, so I've got to always look young. And honestly, I look maybe people are very surprised when they learn my age. I'm in my mid 30s and everybody thinks I'm like 25 or
20s,
26 and
yeah.
it's because I really really try to take care of my skin. So this is very interesting to me. So you're an expert in all things skin health. And you believe that creating healthy skin actually will help reverse the aging process. And an interesting fact is that our organ, the largest organ in our body, is skin. And a lot of people, when they think of skincare, they think of the superficial things, the reducing the wrinkles, looking younger, looking hotter. But there's a lot more to it. So talk to us about how treating our skin is actually treating the health of our entire body.
Yeah, and maybe just to get there, I want to explain what we are actually targeting with our products. So,
Yeah.
what we realize is that one of the main drivers of aging was the accumulation of old cells, also called like senescent cells. So basically, those cells are cells that are in the end of their life cycle. So they're already really damaged. They stop dividing. And this is good because if they continue to divide, they could become a cancer and, would cause a lot of harm to our bodies. But on the flip side, those cells start secreting inflammatory signals that basically spoils the cells around to age faster. So we usually compare like a senescent cells with a bad apple in a basket, because one, senescent cells basically spoils the good cells around, and this accelerates aging. So what we found is that if we can decrease, or if we can target only the aged cells, we can allow, so we reduce the amount of like old cells, and then we can allow the healthy cells to proliferate, and they start producing more collagen. They basically, recover that healthy and youthful state of our skin. So when you think that your skin is, and answering your question now, when you think that your skin is your largest organ, and as we age, our skin starts to deteriorate and start to accumulate those old cells, and they start secreting inflammatory signals, because of the sheer size of this organ, even lower level of inflammation that's coming from your skin can actually influence your body's levels of inflammation. So I think we all heard of like inflammaging, and how this is, a risk factor for age-related disease. And one of the main sources of like inflammation can be our skin, because skin again is our largest organ, and it started to secrete those damage signals that affects our internal body. So treating our skin is a way that we can help lower our systemic levels of inflammation, which can help us to prevent age-related disease. And to me, when I kind of connected the dots, this was like, wow. So, when you go to a doctor now and you have like a cardiovascular problem, instead of just like give you medication, maybe the doctor was going to give you like, hey, you should also treat your skin with this product, because it's going to help lower your body's levels of inflammation, which is like very like paradigm change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really eye-opening, because when you think about the skin, a lot of us are really focusing on our face, but your skin is your whole entire body. Your skin protects you from viruses and bacteria. And as you age, if that gets weaker, that's a risk factor. And like you said, it also contributes to inflammation. And you don't often think about that. When we think of age-related diseases, we're thinking Parkinson's disease, brain stuff, joint stuff, bone stuff. You're not really thinking of your skin. And it's time that we stopped ignoring our skin. So I really think this is important work that you're doing. Hey you, I know you're all about leveling up in life, and one of the quickest ways to do that is to learn from those who have already been where you want to go. With Masterclass, you can learn from the world's best minds, anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. Speaking of best minds, Chris Voss holds the record for most episodes on Young and Profiting podcast. He's been on 5 times, and that's because this man spits pure gold. On Masterclass, you can learn the art of negotiation straight from the GOAT himself by taking his class. And if you want to take it a step further, there's also a sales and persuasion class with 2-time YAP guest Daniel Pink. And we all know that profiting in life doesn't just mean making more money. With Masterclass, you can brush up on your art, cooking, or storytelling skills. With over 180 classes from a range of world-class instructors, that thing you've always wanted to do better is just a few clicks away. I have to be honest, and this is a little bit embarrassing, but for the longest time, I thought that Masterclass was this super fancy, expensive platform. I would always get served ads from Masterclass because, as you might have gathered, I have a lot of overlap in terms of their instructors and my guests. And I was very tempted to take these Chris Voss and Dan Pink classes in particular. And finally, by the grace of the universe, I took action. And to my surprise, their annual membership is super affordable, starting at just $180 for the entire year. I mean, this is what we spend on sneakers or a dinner date. Masterclass is just as fancy as I always imagined. It has a clean, modern interface, beautiful videos, and easy to navigate 10-minute modules. But honestly, I'm really blown away by the value. Just one class in, and Masterclass feels like it's paid for itself. And now I'm using Masterclass in ways I never even imagined. For example, Naomi Campbell has a modeling fundamentals class, and I'm going to take it before my next photo shoot. If you catch me on the cover of Vogue, you can thank Masterclass. I highly recommend you check them out. Get unlimited access to every class, and as a YAP listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/profiting now. Again, that's masterclass.com/profiting for 15% off Masterclass. Okay, so let's talk about the things that trigger skin aging. Can you walk us through the intrinsic and the extrinsic factors that affect our skin?
Yeah, definitely. So as we know, sun damage is one of the main drivers of skin aging. So it accounts for like 90% of the signs of aging. So this is an extrinsic factor, right? Sun damage, pollution, any type of infection. And there are a lot that we can do to protect, our skin. Although it's obviously really hard to prevent all the damage that we are exposed in a day to day, unless we live in a bubble and we don't do anything. But then there is also the intrinsic factors that are basically, your cells dividing and the inflammation that is inside your body, and things like, diet. Obviously, your habits will influence those intrinsic factors. So it is a combination of these two that will lead to, again, the accumulation of damage and the accumulation of those old cells. And there is several ways that we can prevent or counteract that. And obviously, sunscreen is a very important one. It's kind of, the number one rule. Obviously, there are also good and bad sunscreens there. So there is another topic that we can talk. But then eventually you always accumulate, some kind of damage in your skin, even wearing sunscreen. So you need like products that help your cells to be more effective in repairing damage and, and producing more collagen, basically, counteracting those factors that are basically the default system, right? I think aging is kind of the default, and we need to do everything that we can to basically fight those factors that will lead eventually to, tissue dysfunction. And in the case of the skin, obviously, all the signs of aging that we don't want to see, like wrinkles, sagging, sunspots, and so on.
So I want to ask you about products on the market right now, because there's lots of things that are being advertised to people for sunscreen, for makeup, for skincare, anti-aging, wrinkle creams, and whatever. What are some of the things that we need to look out for that we should not be putting on our skin?
I think, and this is so hard for consumers, and I can't imagine. I mean, I imagine because before starting this company, I was, basically lost and just following, some recommendations or trying to do my own research online, but there is only so much that you can find. But my recommendation is always to look the ingredient list. And there are some ways that you can understand if those ingredients, if they are safe. So there are, websites, and none of them are perfect, but that help you like, kind of make some assessment. One is like EWG, that you can basically input a name of the product or an ingredient, and you give like a risk factors. If it's safe, safe is usually green and red is usually, not safe. And you'll be surprised how a lot of those products out there have ingredients that have, potential risk of causing cancer and, obviously, hormone disruptors and things like that. And then in our case, for example, the way that we can evaluate our safety is that since we can grow skins in the lab, we can apply and test any product on those skins. And if the product is clean or safe, the skin will be fine, and then a lot of times will be better. But if the product is full of like toxic ingredients, the skin will start to degenerate. And it's really shocking how like some products cause so much like toxicity into the skin, and we don't see that when we put on our face immediately, but with long-term usage we're gonna start seeing some either like some rashes or some like irritation. So for the consumers, I know that's a little tougher, but there are like sites like EWG or like Skin Safe, for example, is one that we use to make sure that the third parties also validate the safety of products. They basically evaluate all the concentrations of ingredients because this also matters a lot. It's not like which ingredients are there, but at what concentration. And then in the end they give you a score like it's completely safe, even like for sensitive skin or no. And that's a way that the consumer can at least have, a better understand if they don't have, the capabilities that we have to test it in real human skins.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I really hope that there's like a revolution around this stuff in America because I feel like in Europe, they're much
Yeah,
more stringent. They're much more safe. In America, people can basically just sell anything, and
I
it's really
know.
dangerous. And I know, like I told you, I'm obsessed with skincare. Something that I never do is I never put fragrance on my face.
Yeah,
And I feel like that really helps with anti-aging. But then you go to the store and all these really expensive products and they're a lot of money and they seem like they work. They have great packaging, great marketing. And then they're full of fragrance, which is like the worst thing that you could put on your skin.
I know.
So I'd love to understand, like, is there anything specifically ingredient wise in sunscreen or skincare that we need to look out for? Or is it more just like, test it on the websites and that's the best way?
Yeah, I mean the list is endless, so
Okay.
it's hard for me to name all of them. But as you said, like fragrances, usually a lot of petroleum derived ingredients. You if you see a lot of bags that are also plastic derived ingredients, this is never like too good for you. So avoiding a lot of those ingredients is always better. And if you can have like organic, kind of more, I would say natural ingredients, and also be careful with the word natural because it can be misleading as well. But there are several websites that can help you, like with a list of ingredients. Even obviously Sephora is not the main expert, but they do have a good list of like this is clean by Sephora, and then you should avoid those ingredients that are, in their banned list.
I love that. Okay, so we'll stick those websites that you mentioned in our show notes so it's easy access for everyone. So at OneSkin, I heard that you guys don't say anti-aging, you say pro-aging. Why is that?
Yeah, I think the word anti-aging comes with a lot of, I would say, fear in terms of like aging is a bad thing. And I think aging is a process that we can embrace, we can enjoy, and we can be proud of it. But obviously, we don't want like the drawbacks of aging. That's basically, the health decay part. We want to still like grow older, but keep doing whatever we love doing. And for that, we need our health, right? I think health is like the number one thing that allows us to do everything that we do. So pro aging means I think maybe the best word is pro longevity, because longevity means like aging at your best way, and maintain your health and really harnessing your own biology to work for you in the most effective way. And that's what we are doing at OneSkin and other longevity companies in terms of understanding aging biology, creating products that can help our bodies to perform better and allow us to enjoy this, this beautiful process of our lives, right? And we have so many examples and inspirational examples of people that are rocking their like 60s, 70s, 80s, and we all can do that. So it's a matter of like understanding our biology and obviously doing our part in terms of treating our bodies well, right? Because if we can keep like stressing our bodies and put a lot of bad food, then that is not gonna lead to a good.
Yeah. And I know that we're going to talk about diet later on. And there's so much progress that can be done in this area. Even if you just look now, there's so many like 40-year-old, 50-year-old people who look 20, 30. It's like we're already starting to look more younger because we are taking better care of our skin. We do understand sun damage now. But there's so much more that we could do. Imagine a world where like 60-year-old people look like they're 30 and act like they're 30 and feel like they're 30.
Yeah.
It would be so wonderful and really, really help the quality of life for so many people. So let's talk about this phrase, days, age is just a number, right? We always hear this, and turns out through your research, it actually might be true because we have two ages. We have our real age, which we were like the year that we were born, and then we have our biological age. So how would you define biological age? What's up, young and profiters? Do you have a CRM platform? A CRM tool can help you accelerate business growth by keeping track of leads, improving customer retention, automating daily tasks, and enabling data sharing across your entire organization. If this sounds like what you need, say hello to Brevo, formerly Send in Blue, a platform that helps you build customer relationships across email, SMS, chat, and more. With Brevo, you can easily create customized emails, engaging SMS or WhatsApp campaigns, stunning landing pages, and automated workflows. No matter your goals, Brevo has the complete toolkit to turn one-time browsers into long-term customers. It's the perfect business growth tool for marketers, small business owners, and sales teams looking to build a consolidated marketing and CRM toolbox. I'm especially impressed with Brevo's sales platform. You can automate repetitive tasks from meeting reminders to follow-ups. I'm all about less admin work and more time closing deals. And with all the leads and deals in one place, you can keep a closer eye on your progress and streamline your pipeline. Brevo can also help streamline your sales and marketing efforts. With more transparency and all customer interactions during the buying journey stored in one central location, your team will have a better pulse on what's working and what can be improved. And at the same time, your customers will enjoy a consistent end-to-end experience that keeps them loyal to your brand. And best of all, Brevo's pricing structure is based on the number of emails sent and not the number of contacts stored. This is a game changer when it comes to this type of service. Get started with Brevo for free by going to brevo.com/profiting and use the promo code PROFITING to save 50% off your first 3 months of the starter and business plan. Again, that's brevo.com, brevo.com/profiting, and sign up for free.
Yeah, basically biological age means like how healthy and functional is your tissue, whatever tissue or your whole body. So each tissue or, we have our is in the specific biological age. So for example, you can be 30 something and your skin can be either like 25 or it can be like 40, depending on your lifestyle, if you've been exposed to too much sun or if you smoke. What we learned is that this biological age is actually malleable. We can, it's reversible. We have done this in the lab in many ways. There is even this, groundbreaking research that the first scientist that could turn an adult cell into embryonic stem cells, so completely like resetted the biological age, like from 30 years to, basically 0 years. So this is possible. And then what like we are trying to do with our products and, in the longevity space is to promote a rejuvenation, age reversal effect that we don't want to go all the way, obviously, to an embryonic state, but we want to go to a younger state in which our cells are, performing the best. So there are ways that we can do this with products. There are ways that we can do this with lifestyle. And basically the combination of those interventions can lead to a biological age. And for example, at OneSkin, one of the experiments that we've done in the lab is that when we treated like aged skins with our peptide, we can see that we can reverse the age of the skin in 2.6 years over a course of 5 days, which is like obviously a very
Sign me up. Sign me up.
This is a very controlled condition in the lab. But now we are repeating this study with humans. So we have a clinical studies that the people are actually applying our product, and then we are collecting. We still need to collect a piece of your skin, a biopsy, and then we can quantify the age of your skin before and after, using our product. So this study is ongoing and is going to be, a validation that it is possible to reverse the age of your skin with, a topical treatment.
That's really, really cool. So you just mentioned that, I've been trying OneSkin. I love it so far. You mentioned that it's topical, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure all your products are topical. Did you guys think about whether or not you were going to do something oral or topical? And then why did you decide on the topical?
Yeah, great question. So first, like topical is a way that we can bring this product to consumers faster because it's a completely, you know, new peptide. Obviously, we have done all the safety studies, but basically, when you prove that's safe, you applying topically, there is, I would say, lower risk to your overall body. You know, in case that. Uh, could have something unexpected, which for like an oral product you needed to do a lot more studies. You need to do like studies with animals. It's basically kind of a new drug, so you needed to go through FDA and so on. And that's why it takes much longer. We can come up with like a supplement that's based on natural ingredients that we know that also reduce the amount of senescent cells, but our goal is really first to treat, skin first and then go internally. But we can also show in our studies that the peptide is able to penetrate, the deeper layers of the skin. So it does not get to the bloodstream, but it does get to the at least like in higher concentration, but it gets to the dermal layer, which is the layer that gives more firmness to the skin, and is the layer that we actually want to fight those old cells and allow them to produce the healthy cells to produce more collagen. So basically it penetrates and works from the inside out. So again, focusing on your largest organ first, and then eventually expanding from there. I think OneSkin vision is go way beyond the skin.
Mm. So, talk to me about genetics in terms of biological age. How much does genetics really play a role in all of this?
Another great question. It's interesting because a lot of people think, oh, I don't have good genetics. There is nothing that I can do about it. And there is obviously, I don't know if you guys heard of like the centenarians, right? The people that live over 100 years old, and they are usually they have a very good, quality of life. They sometimes they can even have like some bad habits like smoking, and they are still like not developing chronic diseases. But these are exceptions. So and a lot of times you can find them concentrated in some blue zones. But what really determines in terms of how well you're gonna age, it's basically your lifestyle. So your lifestyle accounts for like 70, some people say to 90% of how you're gonna age, and your genetics only about 10 to 30%. So it doesn't matter if you're if you have very good genes, and if you have terrible habits, you are definitely gonna age in a much like worse way than someone that doesn't have like a good genetic, but it's really doing everything that they can to maintain their bodies healthy. So
Mm.
that's the ratio, like around like 80-20. So genetics account only for 20% of how you're gonna age. So definitely
Yeah.
lifestyle, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean that's great news for all of us. It means that we actually have control over
Yeah.
this, and we're not just like helpless. So, talk to us about these blue zones since you brought it up. What are these blue zones, and what can we learn about from people who live there?
Yeah, that's a very interesting scenario in which people are concentrated in those areas. So if I'm not wrong, there are 7 or 8 blue zones around the world, and basically they have a higher concentration of centenarians, people that live over around 100 years old, and they are usually very healthy and they don't develop many chronic diseases. So there are a few of them that have good genetics, but in general it's their lifestyle that allow them to have that long lifespan and health span as well. So basically their lifestyles are usually like a very I would say a diet that's based on like natural foods, not much processed foods, a more Mediterranean kind of diet. So more like fish, olive oils, nuts, not much like red meat, or not too much of like carbs as well. More like oils, and like good oils and good fish and vegetables, a lot of vegetables and so on. And also these people are usually, they're very connected to each other. So there are other things that is not only like exercise, but it actually like bonding and living in a community that they help each other really impacts like how long we live. It's very interesting
Mm.
how those things also matter, right? So there are many things that we can learn from them, but I think in general, like lower levels of stress, which is not common for us here in the the Western side. But yeah, I think a good like work life balance in terms of sleep, diet, exercise. But again, this community style also definitely is a great trait of those areas.
Okay, so let's talk about why skincare is healthcare. I learned when I was going through your website and your blog that you call skin longevity skin span. So I'd love to understand, what is skin span and how can we increase it, I guess?
Yeah. So we all know about like lifespan. That's basically, how long we're gonna live. We all know about health span. That's basically how many years of good health we're gonna live. So, and the goal for us is to basically make health span really close to lifespan. So we have a very short period of our lives that we are, in some kind of, disability or suffering from a specific disease. And then skin span is basically how long your skin is healthy and functional. Because we are young, so a lot of times we don't think about that. But as you get old, obviously your skin will you start to get like deteriorated, and then the skin will get thinner, so it can like bruise much easier. It can start flaking, itching. So that's not a healthy skin anymore, and this is impacting your quality of life. So our goal is really again to extend the skin span, do everything that we can to keep our skin, youthful, functional, and healthy as long as possible. So basically, again, fighting those, old cells and, protecting our skin of excessive damage and allowing our skin to do its work at its best and, continue to protect our body um, as it should.
Yeah, and like you said, skin is a serious organ. I can speak from my own experience. My father passed away from COVID in 2020, but prior to that, he was diabetic and he had like ulcers on his feet and he had to get a toe amputated, and it was all because his skin couldn't fight an infection.
Yeah.
Right? And so as you get older, like this becomes a serious problem if your skin is not healthy.
Yeah, and then what we also need to learn is that it's not something that we should like treat only you have that problem. We need to shift our mindset to a more preventative mindset. So building a strong skin and a resilient skin is something that starts right now. Like you should take care of your heart, you should take care of your lungs. So treating your skin well, paying attention to that, again, not only from the aesthetics point of view. And that's what I usually say. Hey, our product's not only for women, it's for guys too. You guys also needed to have like a strong and a healthy skin. And it's actually impressive how many guys are actually starting to be interested in this topic, because and most of them are they are into longevity, they are into kind of this overall like health optimization. So they definitely align with our messaging of treating your skin as a part of like achieving your best health and achieving your best self.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like stereotypes that can be broken down in this whole industry. First of all, your skin is not just your face. Your skin is your whole body. Your skin is your biggest organ. It's not just about looks. It's about health. It's not just for girls. It's for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And I like how your branding is really unisex, because I think that's going to really help with everything that you do. So speaking of how it's not your face, it's just your body, your products are not just for your face. It's also for your body as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So because we want to improve your skin health as a whole, our second product, immediately we thought, okay, we needed to treat your whole body as well. And this, it turned out to be a great bet in terms of like consumers are starting to worry or to pay attention more on your body. Like there's so much treatment for your face, but how about the rest of your body? And it's even impressive, like how we can help people that are going through some issues in terms of some skin conditions that can be ameliorated by using the product, because the product helps repair the skin barrier, and with that kinds of addresses a lot of the conditions that are associated with like a weakened skin barrier and so on. So yeah, our approach is really holistic in terms of treating skin as a whole, and again, we wanna protect our skin from those inflammatory secreting cells. So our body is super important in that concept.
Yeah. So let's get really nerdy now. You talked about it a little bit, but I really want to understand sentient cells and how they drive the aging process. So, like, what's the difference between a sentient cell and a healthy cell? Maybe that's where we can start.
Yeah. So basically, senescent cells are old cells. So these are cells that have replicated around like 50 times. They reach this limit. They are very damaged already, and then basically stop dividing, and they function like a zombie cells. They don't do anything good anymore. They just sit there and they start secreting some bad vibes around on the cells around. And that's okay when we are young, because our our immune system can actually identify those cells and clear those cells up. What happens when we age is that our immune system gets deficient in doing its work well, and those cells start to build up in our tissues. And it turns out that the accumulation of senescent cells in different tissues is associated with most chronic diseases that we know today. So they are associated with, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, osteoarthritis, diabetes. And then that's when scientists thought, okay, if those cells are driving inflammation and diseases, can we fight those cells? Can we find a way to attack only the bad cells? And that's when OneSkin also realized, okay, those cells also accumulate in our skin. UV damage is a great way to induce senescent cells, how we can fight those aged cells that are driving skin aging. And that's when we started to search for new molecules, specifically peptides, that had this impact on these old cells that are the bad cells in our tissues.
And so OneSkin has this patented peptide, OS1. And this is something you guys discovered. Can you walk us through how you discovered this peptide?
Yeah, that was a long process. So we actually spent 4 years testing first, growing skins and replicating the skin aging process in the lab. And then we developed the clock that we could measure the age of the skin. And then finally, we needed molecules that could promote the skin age reversal. So we tested over around 1,000 different peptides. These are novel peptides. And until we landed to this one that we call OS1. And OS1 has this great ability of decreasing the amount of senescent cells up to 50%. And with that, it allows, again, the healthy cells to proliferate. So there is an increased production of collagen, hyaluronic acid, elastin. And then when we tested this, and then we formulated our peptide in a topical product, and we did clinical studies, we can validate that this leads to, a better looking skin. So it's very interesting, the concept in which if I am attacking the root cause of aging, the consequence is that your skin will be healthier and look younger, because, healthy skin is usually, a younger skin, a better functional skin.
Yeah. I love it how you guys are actually concerned about driving results with your product and not just the marketing and the hype behind your product. It's very different from other companies. Other companies in this beauty industry, I feel like they're putting anything in a bottle and then worrying all about what are they going to call it, how are they going to market it, all this kind of stuff, rather than is it actually going to work and be healthy for the people who put it on their skin, a vital organ. So let's talk about elasticity. Why is elasticity important to pro-aging or anti-aging?
So basically, when your skin starts to get old and there is a lower production of collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid, basically these are, we call like a matrix, extracellular matrix that holds up our cells and our tissue. So gives like the foundation of our skin. So the skin is more supple if you have like a lot of those proteins. And then when you have the aging process, obviously this get like compromised. And then when you can fight this aging process, you can basically recover elasticity, firmness, and allow your cells to produce again those proteins that are really important to maintain that youthful appearance. But pay attention that what we are doing is not like adding ingredients that will give elasticity to our skin. Is basically our peptide allows our cells to start producing elastin again. So it's basically again using our own cells, your own biology to do its work, instead of just adding something that would be temporary, but wouldn't, work for the long term. So that's a very interesting difference from, how our products works and how, some other companies want to deliver some like immediate results, but that doesn't really sustain.
Mm. This has been so awesome. I want to move to close out the interview while talking about mental health and entrepreneurship, because it turns out skin can actually impact our mental health. So let's talk about the connection between skin and our brain. How we think and feel can actually show up in our skin. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we are talking about health and the impact of our skin in our overall health, and there are many ways that this happens. And obviously, one of those ways is how we see ourselves and how good we feel about ourselves, right? So obviously, having I would say, a clean skin or a healthy skin does help in terms of, increasing our confidence, increasing our self-esteem, increasing our social ability. And then this is something that, we can allow our customers to, even like people that, I was not wearing like, short sleeves anymore because I was ashamed of, my arms or, or my legs. And these are all things that impact our lives. And it really matters. I mean, we people that have suffered from some skin conditions, they can attest for this. So I think this is one way that having a healthy skin can give you what I call like peace of mind. I feel good about myself and I feel confident. And that's something that changed so much with like the pandemic, right? Because people were looking at Zoom and webcams like for so long, and they were starting to pay attention on their skin and how they're seeing themselves. So that's why also the skincare space grew a lot in the past like few years. So that's one way that I think we can definitely impact like mental health, which is super important as well.
In terms of who these products are good for, right? Is there a certain, I know we said it's neither male nor female, it's gender neutral, OneSkin products, but is there a certain age that's appropriate? Like, can teenagers use OneSkin, or is it more for people above a certain age?
Our product is definitely safe for whatever age. We usually recommend around like your 20s or so, when you are starting to really, if you're putting a moisturizer, or, even, people in a very early age, they are already worried about anti-aging. So I'm super, pro like preventative measurements. And I think what we offer is actually a way that we are going to prevent and maintain your skin, youthful and healthy, for as long as possible. So it is totally suitable for young people as well. And obviously we are here to help people that are going through this aging process, that already feel like the aging pain in some ways. So obviously start to see some lines here and there, or some discoloration in your skin and things like that really starts like to affect your day to day. So that's when OneSkin can really help. But we have customers that are, on their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they still see amazing results. So I would say that it's basically for everyone. It's everyone that's, it's worried about, their skin health, and that want to be proactive about putting something that's scientifically validated and that's going to bring benefits to your skin.
Okay, so I have a personal question, and I just got Botox for the first time a few months ago, and just curious on your perspective of, do you think Botox is a good idea since you're a skincare expert?
Yeah, I love this question because it's something that comes to us a lot of times. I think when you already have like some signs of, wrinkles or fine lines, it is a good idea because you can help your skin basically to not go further, to deepen those wrinkles and fine lines. I think when you don't have, those signs of aging, you shouldn't use it, because you are basically making your tissue lazy in a way that you are not using your tissue, right? So if you're doing that, the one thing that I always recommend, like, use a product that's still stimulating your skin cells to be working for you. So to be producing more collagen, and obviously our peptide is a great product for that. But I'm not saying only our peptide. And then there are other ways that you can also stimulate your cells, like, for example, doing some micro needling, things like that stimulate, cause like small injuries in a way that stimulates your cells to produce more collagen again. And the other thing about Botox is just like, obviously careful to not overdo, because if you, and that happens a lot because it tends to get less effective over time. And if you overdo, again, you are just letting your tissue really, I would say, lazy in a way that is going to be more sagging and sagging. Because if you, so that's the balance. I think if you know how to do it, and obviously, professionals here are super important, there is a way that you can, harness the benefits of Botox, but make sure to complement with other things that continue to stimulate your own cells.
What you're saying is so, so important. I align to this too. So I always do like radio frequency, microneedling, especially after I did Botox, because I was always very hesitant about it, because like you're saying, you're basically making your muscle dead.
Yeah.
And we know with like the worst thing you should do with your muscles if you want to look young is paralyze them, right? So it's so counterintuitive. And I see people who do Botox for 10, 20 years and they sort of look terrible, right? So I would say as less as you can, and think of alternative alternative methods like OneSkin, like microneedling, like radio frequency, that actually help your collagen and your skin perform at its best, rather than paralyzing it and making it lazy. So I think it's sort of like a short-term fix, but not a long-term fix. Okay, awesome.
100%.
So let's talk about your entrepreneurship journey. I found out that you started this company with 3 other scientists. All 4 of you guys have PhDs, and all women. So like, what a unique team. I'm sure like getting funding is like really exciting for you guys, because you are such like a female diverse team, very qualified. But I want to understand, in terms of other people out there who don't have a business background, what would your advice be to them if they wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, what has your journey been like without a formal business background becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah. And just commenting a little bit, like, is it still hard, even having, 4 women is a diverse team? Everyone says that they want to support that, but in the end, it's still very little amount of funding go to women's entrepreneurs. So it is still,
Mm.
there is still a long way to go. Although I think it is getting better. I think in the end, what it matters is, your results. You needed to show progress. You needed to show that you know what you're doing, because people won't support you just because you're a woman if you don't have obviously a good business, right? So, but there
Hmm.
is still unfortunately a lot of bias, against men and white men and so on. But yeah, I think coming from a technical background, obviously everything's a little more challenging in a way that you needed to learn. Either you learn yourself, you needed to be very hungry to learn and develop those skills yourself. So, for example, going through programs like I did, like accelerators, and being part of other entrepreneurs communities that you can exchange learnings and having mentors that can help you develop those skills, super super important. But more than that, try to surround yourself with people that complement yourself, because obviously you are not going to be an expert on everything. And to us, OneSkin are still like, we are product led company and our products are science. So this is still like a representation of who we are. And obviously, we need to develop the business side of things, but we do very well what we know best. That's, creating an amazing product. So once you have that, which I think that's the main differentiation that any company needs to have, like a very good product. And then you can, the business is not that is easy, but there's a lot of people that can help you to do the business, help you to do the marketing. Now what is very unique from you, that's your unique insight on how to solve, to tackle a specific problem. This is much harder to find. So that's my take
Yeah.
on that.
And I totally agree. It's like if you have a really good product, it's going to sell itself by word of mouth, right? People are going to tell their friends if it works. And so for you guys, because you focused on your product and not just everything else, first of all, it's really a good thing that you're doing for society in terms of like actually putting out a safe product that's going to reverse aging, that's for your whole body and addresses like the real things that are impacting our skin. And, I think it will sell itself. So I totally agree. When you have a good
Yeah.
product, it sells itself.
Yeah, it's not a thing simple like that, but I think it's the first thing. Once you have like a good product, and then you can figure out everything else. The first year for us was not an easy year for sure, but eventually, things. If you continue to do your work really well and connect with people that are aligned with you, with your vision, eventually, people will recognize you as, an authority, as a disruptive company or technology in the field. So it's still as simple, but I agree. If having a great products is the number one, like starting point.
Totally. Okay, so I end my interview with two questions that I ask all my guests. The first one is, what is one actionable thing our young and profiters can do today to become more profitable tomorrow?
Don't be afraid of starting today, even if you don't have like a brilliant idea. For example, with us, like I knew that my mission was like to translate our science, and I didn't know where to start, but I said we got to start somewhere. So we started, and then eventually our idea, pivoted like three times, and we landed to this, beautiful mission of like reversing aging. But that's now how it started. So don't be afraid of like, taking the first step, because things will change in the future. And if you keep waiting for the right moment, for the right idea, you won't make progress. And you are just going to learn so much when you start actually doing things. So, yeah, that's my advice.
That's great. That's great advice. I love that advice. And what is your secret to profiting in life? And this could be beyond financial.
I think my secret is actually aligning my purpose in this world with, with my work. And for me, because I love so much, enjoying life every single moment. And I can't imagine that there will be a time in my life that I won't be able to do that. So I want to dedicate my life to help, myself, not being like selfish, but like help everyone to actually be able to, continue to enjoy and have like an amazing life at, whatever age. And I think when you find that, overlapping point in which you are so passionate about what you do, and there is a very clear purpose for you in terms of benefiting society. I think that's when profit will come no matter what, because you are so dedicated, you are so passionate, and you are also, generating value for people out there. So try to find, what is that thing for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carolina. This was such a wonderful interview. Where can our listeners learn more about you and OneSkin?
Yeah, thank you so much, Hala. This is was so fun. Uh obviously, on our website, oneskin.co, on our social media, also oneskin.co, LinkedIn, and yeah, I also really recommend everyone to subscribe to our newsletters, because we put out so much good content, so much educative content that's beyond just skincare, but a lot of the science that we do in the lab, how we test our products, and the data that we find, and longevity in general, like things that you can start doing today that will impact your life tomorrow. So
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to put all those links in the show notes. Carolina, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on Young and Profiting Podcast.
thank you, Hala. This was awesome.